Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's a statistician of the stars. He has 1,000,001 aliases, but his name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
And boy, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned into the entertainment edition of the ODPH, and we definitely like keeping those conversations rolling after the show. Pad, where does everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
For anything and everything that you need, whether it's a TeePublic store link, whether it's a blog section, whether it's a directory. Pad, how many providers are we on?
We are on 898,700.
Statistician stars for a reason. Who's your source?
Trust me, bro.
We also have a classified section, which has great friends of the show, such as 305 Podcasts, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, many more. A music section, which touts Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, Shout Out the Robots. Like we say, if it's anything the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. And remember, if you're using hashtags on social media, well, why not use the hashtag ODPHpod? Kicking off this edition of the show, we have to recap a very polarizing episode of Marvel Studios' latest cinematic spinoff on Disney+. One that has been very well received by the public, one that is generating a lot of buzz around social media. And Pad, we have to break down the latest episode of what?
Daredevil Born Again Season 1.
That's right. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio brought the whole gang over from Netflix, reprising their roles as Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, respectively. And this series has picked up the same vein of The Guardian of Hell's Kitchen, which we fell in love with all those years ago on Netflix. Now under the Disney Plus banner, the show has been rocking and rolling, setting a interesting course that we haven't really seen as far as the MCU is involved with on Disney Plus before. And this episode that we're going to be diving into really had pop culture split down the middle about.
Yeah.
I'll have to say, for all the reactions that we've been receiving on odphpodcast.com and all our various social medias, this has garnered, if I can use that word, a very split down the middle opinion about how things went down.
Very polarizing, yeah.
Yeah, because this whole season has been centered around some different stories that we've seen in the Marvel Comics universe of Daredevil that they're now bringing in, and they're elementing different pieces here and there. So where we are at right now has been setting up for the return of Daredevil back after a hiatus because of the death of Foggy Nelson. And his retirement of the vigilante costume, but something has drawn him out that has made him reprise the role many, many months later.
Right.
So that is where we're diving into for this edition of the show. So we are going to be recapping the episode entitled Art for Art's Sake. Now, if you're new to the show, this is how it goes down. First and foremost, thank you for checking us out. It does mean the absolute world to us. We'd like to give a spoiler-free statement about what we're talking about. So if you haven't seen the episode, don't worry. You can still get our opinions and comment with us on social media. We do this. I mean, that's how we get those conversations rolling over the parlay of topics that you hear each and every week on here. However, we give you a countdown. At that countdown, you have to make a choice. Like The Clash, do you stay or do you go? If you stay, you're going to hear theories. You're going to hear spoilers. You're going to hear deep dives. You're going to hear some stuff that if you have not seen this show, you might have something ruined. So if you're cool with it, stay aboard. If you're not, pause the episode. That's why I always say download. Pause, go watch the episode, come back in, and you'll be caught up, nothing will be ruined, and boom. That's how we make it happen here at the ODPH. So that being said, Pad, a lot of things have been going on with Art for Art's Sake. Give me your spoiler-free statement on the episode.
I thought it was a good episode. I enjoyed kind of the tension and everything going on with it. A couple interesting moments with this, but overall I'd say I enjoyed it.
This one really had me divided.
Okay.
Because there's an instance that happens.
Right.
And I don't want to spoil it on this point of the show.
Right.
But if it stays true of what has happened, this was a letdown.
Oh.
If it stays that this is not true and that's where I think they're going, great episode.
Okay.
But it all hinges on what they did here and if this is a sticking point. I mean, granted, we have 2 episodes left of this half of the season.
Right.
So I could see it going either way. But if they keep up what had happened on this episode as final,
Sure.
I have an issue, and I will be saying it in the spoiler-free section. I still think it was a good episode for what it needed to do, but that point is lingering, and I can't let it go. I've been trying to, and I've been very good on social media not to go into a full deep dive rant to save it for the show. But I got to call it down the middle like we do on Wrestling Night Live. So this is where I want to get into the spoilers and get your opinion on this. And ODPH Society, hit us up. Let us know what you think of this as well. So in 3, 2, 1, let's really talk about Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again, Episode 7, Art for Art's Sake.
Like I said, I really like the episode. I kind of dug some of the tension and what's going on with it. I'm interested to see where it goes. I wouldn't say it was necessarily one of the best episodes of the season thus far, but, it was an improvement on some of what I've seen.
So I thought it was good.
Okay.
But I have got a big issue with how they did Muse.
Okay.
Because if you've been following the show, he's been the serial killer. We've talked about this many times on here in Nerd Initiative of Charles Soule and Ron Garney's run, serial killer.
Yep.
Albeit, though, in the comics is tied to the Inhumans. It's a little more messier there.
Yeah.
Does have some superpowers they have not touched upon in the show. So Daredevil has been drawn out by Muse in his killing spree because he's at least up to 60 victims, if not more.
That we haven't really seen that many of. This episode, we should say, is the first time we kind of see him at work, I guess you could say.
Yes. So we have seen him work behind the scenes, and their last confrontation, he was saving the White Tiger's niece from being the next victim because Muse likes to drain his victim's blood and use it as paint for his art.
Yep.
It's twisted. It's messed up. It's a great comic if you want to deep dive into it. Like I said, we've talked about it on Nerd Initiative, Turn a Page before, and Muse is back in the comics currently facing Elektra. So that's a very cool series I think more people should be talking about too. But how they did the ending of Muse in this, I really have got some issues with. And I'll get into it as we deep dive because when we start open this episode, Angela, the White Tiger's niece who Daredevil has saved, is talking to the police and literally admits that, yeah, Daredevil saved me. Now, normally this is not a problem, but under the Mayor Fisk administration, there's an anti-vigilante law. There's an anti-vigilante task force. It's basically to prevent Daredevil from coming back.
Is it in place? Because I never really got that, feeling. I got the feeling that Fisk was trying to get it in place and he was proposing it. And obviously the task force is a thing. But I never got the vibe that it was like lock, stock, and in black and white. This is a law.
Well, the thing is, it came into effect with the White Tiger court case.
Right.
And thus, it's been used as an example, at least the vibe I've been getting, about where he is taking about the stance of vigilantes in New York.
Right.
Especially with the police. So, it like I say, I believe it has been because he's alluded to it a little bit, but they haven't dived into it because he's been more focused about the port situation going on and stuff like that. But I do think it is in effect. And we did see him put together his task force last episode. So the way I'm taking it, it's game on.
Or at least if it's not in black and white, like this is law, he's treating it as such.
Oh, yeah. And I think the rest of New York City is. And I think Daredevil is too, for a degree. And even though you do see the White Tiger's niece, who's played by Camila Rodriguez, talk it up to the police, it tips the hand that Daredevil's back. And all of this gets back to Wilson Fisk. And the reaction he has, Pat, how would you describe it?
About shits his pants.
Yeah, because
that's the vibe I got.
Well, the thing about it is his worst enemy is now back.
It's also his worst nightmare.
Yeah, because he knows if anybody can take him down, it's Matt Murdock. And this starts opening up a whole can of emotions with him. So you do see that Fisk is not handling the news that Daredevil's back well, because everything he's been working for behind the scenes here as being the mayor is now blowing up in his face.
Yep.
So when he gets that information, it is not going over well.
No.
And he is now desperate to put a stop to Muse, not for his own conscience, but to prove that the city doesn't need Daredevil, that it can handle itself.
Right.
So it does start breaking down the report that he gets from the police about Muse's story.
And that whole scene I found a little ironic and funny, just because he's just going about his day, talking about a lot of stuff, and they're like, sir, like they keep trying to interject and tell him what's going on, and he's finally all hunky-dory. And they're like, dude, Daredevil's back. What did you say?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. He hasn't taken Muse seriously.
No.
And I get it to a degree, because if like, let's face it, if you've done enough heinous stuff as Wilson Fisk has,
it doesn't really cause a blip on the radar.
Yeah, you're so desensitized to it, it'll mess you up. So when Angie Kim, the detective who's giving the news, played by Rubio Kwan, is telling him, like, hey, this is what's happening, it only takes a Daredevil point to hit in.
Right.
But they also kind of say that there is a prime suspect for Muse.
Right.
Now, this is something I didn't have that much of a problem with.
Sure.
But I know some people did online, because in the comics, we never found out Muse's name.
Sure.
And we do find out that it's Bastian Cooper, who's played by Hunter Duhan.
Well, I mean, this is the primary suspect.
Right. That they think.
I kind of took it as like the CSI, Law and Order. You know, we're 15 minutes into the episode. We got to at least name somebody.
Well, it makes sense, I guess, as far as dealing with pop culture. So I get it.
Sure.
Because we have to call it like that, because as much as we're comic fans and we're diehards.
Oh, yeah.
We have to remember there's a whole different audience that has never picked up the books to see it.
Right.
So I get it. And they want to try selling the point, which it is easier to sell to the audience.
Yeah.
Hey, disturbed person is a serial killer, rather than an Inhuman has powers.
Right.
That when you think Inhumans, especially if you think the MCU, it's a rabbit hole we don't like to go back down.
It's a messy one.
Right. But we do find out that Bastian Cooper is seeing a psychiatrist. And one Daredevil girlfriend, Heather Glenn, the therapist, I should say, rather, who's played by Margarita Levia.
Yep.
And now this is throwing a little bit of curveball into this mix.
Yep.
Because Daredevil, after he has stopped Muse, is extremely happy that he is back being Daredevil.
Yep.
It's the weird thing, and I don't want to use the comparison, but it does happen often.
Okay.
With Bruce Wayne is happy being Batman more than he is happy being Bruce Wayne.
This is true.
I don't think that's the same case with Matt Murdock.
I know.
But I think he does love being Daredevil.
No, I think he does, but I kind of look at it more as, say, a honeymoon phase. And what I mean by that is think of, you know, if you're at school, or if you're a student, or if you have a job. You know, say you're at school. You know, you go into school September or August, depending on where you are, you know, in the world or here in the States. You go into school in September and you're like, all right, new year, excited to be here, excited for classes, teachers, and all this. And then you hit, you know, we'll say October, November, or you know, whatever, for wherever it is where you are. And you start going, oh my God, I'm over this. I want to be done with this. And inevitably that little break comes. You get the winter break, you get the Christmas break, whatever you want to call it. And then you come back and you're like, I'm excited to be back. I had a wonderful time away. You know, I'm re-energized. I'm ready to go. I kind of look at it like that. Same thing with a job. You go to your job, you work 9 to 5, 10 to 6, whatever it is. You inevitably get to that point where you're like, oh my God, I would literally rather do anything else than this right now. So what do? You take some vacation time, you go away, you maybe stay at home, whatever it is you do. You come back after that week and you're a little bit re-energized. That's kind of where I look at it with this, is he's excited to be back there, but that's because he's been away from it for so long.
Well, I think the biggest thing is with him retiring, it reminded him too much of those. Yeah. It reminded him too much of when Foggy died.
Sure.
Because he blames himself, which, I mean, listen, yes and no.
Dude stayed on one step of the grieving scale.
Yeah, but I think it's, even though it's Bullseye related, it wasn't a direct shot at Daredevil, no pun intended.
Right.
It was just Foggy's up to something and reasons happened that we have yet to find out. But I obviously they're going to dive into it next season. There's no question of that.
Absolutely.
So you do see, though, Daredevil's enjoying the moment, and with his girlfriend now going to a therapy session and running into Cooper, this now embraces the idea of how disturbed Muse is, because it comes out that, yeah, he's now thanking her in a very creepy scene for letting him accept who he truly is.
Right.
And I will say, like, Doohan did a great job in this moment, and especially with how Livia just, like, played off it too.
Right.
Like I said, they were very solid in this moment. Because,
absolutely.
Because you just see just the unhinged moment happen with Bastion.
Lord have mercy.
And then at this point, she picks up like he's Muse. He does that weird thing with the bloody nose. Now this is where it kind of threw me off, and let me know your opinion too here, Pat.
Sure.
He just randomly starts bleeding out of his nose, right?
Yeah. It was almost like if you've seen the Casino Royale Daniel Craig film with oh God, what is it? The main villain? He just starts bleeding from the eyeball randomly.
Yeah, the Rami Malek one.
No, that's
it's for another time.
Yeah, it's for another time. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I'm blanking on it. I know we're crossing universes, folks, but that's what we do here. So at the same point, we see the blood trigger.
Yeah.
And when this happens, I'm going, this is kind of kicking into his little bit of powers a little bit.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're kind of teasing this because, as I say, it's just so random that it happens. But, I mean, we don't know the full extent of Muse's powers.
Yeah.
Like I say, he has stuff that can throw Daredevil off.
Right.
So we do see this play out that, it winds up making him do his self-portrait as he sees himself as Muse onto a sheet of paper.
Right.
This immediately clicks into Heather that, he is who he is.
We'll say therapists, incredibly smart.
Yeah, but he is also picking up that she understands that he's the serial killer.
Serial killers, surprisingly not stupid.
Yeah.
Usually.
And he winds up knocking her out.
Yep.
So while this is going on, Daredevil and Fisk's task force are investigating Muse's hideout. And this is where Matt comes sneaking in. He does get caught by a cop.
Yep.
And throws the billy club at his face.
Yep.
And knocks him out.
Yep.
But then he starts feeling the paper.
Yep.
Now, this is kind of an interesting point here because we have to remember Muse's paintings are done in blood.
Right.
So how is he able to pick that up with his fingers?
It's like Braille.
Right. But in the same sense of like the different, as morbid as it sounds, the different blood that's in that room. Like, how is he able to hone in on it?
Yeah.
So, obviously they can say it's his superpowers, but I thought it was very interesting about how he was trying to decipher it.
Right.
But he winds up feeling the picture, and then he can definitely tell.
He's putting two and two together.
Yeah, Heather is one of the targets on here, if not a victim.
Right.
He immediately takes off. All the while, every agent that's in there starts seeing about what pictures there, finds the one of her. So it's a race against time to go see it.
Right.
So Matt takes off, and as he's going into to try to make the save, we go back to her office. She's tied up in a chair. Muse cuts her wrist open and bleeds her out, or is trying to.
He's trying to. He doesn't get very far.
Because he's trying to use her blood as paint, as sick as that is. And even like writes his signature on her other arm.
Yep.
Which is absolutely
all
twisted.
all sorts of twisted.
Oh yeah, like this started when it started feeling uncomfortable, which I know that's what the writing was going for.
That's the idea.
And they hit the mark. Like say, not mad about this, but when you start feeling very uneasy watching this, that's what they're doing. Suddenly Matt comes bursting into the window.
Yep.
And starts going to town fighting him.
Broad daylight, mind you.
Yeah, which I mean, he has done in the past.
Sure.
It's not so much out of the realm of thought, so I had no issue with it.
I didn't either. I'm just pointing it out for the fact of like this is how not subtle he's being in this moment.
Yeah. So all the time that's going on here, they start going back and forth. This is getting absolutely bloodier by the minute.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that he's doing, and he's not crossing the line. We have to remember
holding
this.
Back though.
Right. Well, we have to say he's not going full Frank Castle here.
Right.
But he's really walking that line.
He's on the doorstep.
Yeah. So Muse is getting very bloody. He's taking shots back. Like, it's a very back and forth fight.
Yep.
Which the thing I did not like in this situation is in the comics, Muse has been able to throw off his radar sense before.
Sure.
Didn't even try doing that here. And so it kind of started making me question a little bit of how they're presenting him to the crowd, and that's Muse. Because he can really kind of hold his own more. Because they did allude that he had a background in Taekwondo.
Yeah, there was an exchange between himself and Heather where he did mention, or she mentioned that he competed in Taekwondo, and he does confirm, like, because she asks, if he wanted to prove himself to his parents, and he goes, no, I did it because they made me.
Yeah. So he is an experienced fighter. So
Yeah,
that's the one
yeah.
thing that I don't think they dabbled in pre-encounter.
Right.
But it definitely showed up in this fight. Like, it's a great choreographed fight.
Oh, it is. And I think regarding his powers, like, yes, I get and I understand the comic run. He had all these powers and this and that. I think for just the simplicity of it, of they don't want to get too in the weeds with the character, especially for the, like, listen, you, myself, anybody who's read the comic understands what he is further than just the surface level. There are folks who aren't going to read that comic and have not read that comic. They don't want to get too in the weeds. I think for just this intents and purpose, he's a serial killer with some martial arts experience that right now, I'm not saying he'll never be powered, but for right now, isn't powered.
Right. So it is a situation that it plays out right here because the fight is going crazy.
Oh, it's nuts.
Daredevil's going nuts. And like all the while, Heather is bleeding out.
Yeah.
That they kind of don't really touch upon.
BT dubs.
Right. Until she winds up shooting Muse.
Yeah.
And unloading an entire clip.
Can't say I blame her.
Right. Don't blame her at all. No, it makes perfect sense.
I thought for some reason at some point she was going to figure out who was under the mask. And I mean Daredevil.
Well, that's where I think they were kind of alluding to a little bit because
he was beating the holy snot out of Muse.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just I've seen one too many superhero things. I figured she's going to like somehow put two and two together and be like, Matt?
Well, she might still do that.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe is going to happen.
Could be.
But we'll have to really kind of see how that plays out because, like I say, all the while Muse was ready to make Heather the part of the canvas. He had a white sheet rolled out.
Yeah.
So he's now there on there bleeding out. And he's dead. And then Heather winds up collapsing because she's lost so much blood.
Blood loss.
Right. So Daredevil stabilizes her just enough. But at the same time, Fisk's task force is busting in the door ready to come in there.
I love the cinematography with this.
Oh, yeah.
Cutting back and forth.
Yeah. And like I said, it really built up the tension. So Daredevil is gone by the time it happens there. But at the time, the his AVTF, as they call it, the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, winds up coming in and taking all the credit.
Right, because the only thing left there is Muse's body.
Yeah, which it makes perfect sense to do.
Yeah, and Fisk is never one to turn down a prime opportunity.
No, because at this point he has to spin this that he saved the city, that he is the mayor that everybody wants.
Right.
And
he's doing something about this mess.
Oh, yeah, which everybody was waiting for him to do because
right.
when the body count started rising and everything started spiraling out of here.
Right.
He had to make a public statement, and this is what he did. And this is saying, well, we stopped him, and even to the point
Not
where
the vigilantes.
Yeah, which he whipped out the mask and was almost even to the point alluding to that Muse was a vigilante.
Right.
Like almost, he walked a fine line with
that
in that whole scene. So when he's saying, this my force is heroes all the time. So it is an interesting point that he leaves it here, but then there was another point that came up that I thought, okay, I'm not sure exactly where we're going here.
Right.
But this is something to keep an eye on.
Right.
Because we do see that Daniel Blake, played by Michael Gandolfini, is having a meeting with BB Urich.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So Janaea Walton is coming in there and is breaking down what happened here. And what I thought was very tricky that they did, but I'm not sure what the end game is supposed to be here.
Right.
Is Blake convinces BB to take Daredevil out of anything involving this. So this really gets very messed up and political.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting twist that they're going with. And the fact that he was taken out, like, obviously they don't want to give Daredevil credit that he's back.
Right.
But I think it's just to really put the spin about how Wilson Fisk runs the city.
Yep.
So it does make for a unique dynamic. So all the while, you have Heather is in the hospital.
Yep.
Matt meets her. They wind up meeting up. And during her recovery time there, she says that she caught Daredevil saying her name. So, which is an easy slip up. Like, I'm not making a big deal about this because, well, if he knows what therapist hospital room he's crashing into, or office, I should say.
I'll say she had easy to put two and two together.
Yeah, like I say, they could spin this that she figures out who he is. I think it's more of like, I know the internet's kind of like losing their mind a little bit about it, but I'm not too concerned with this.
Yeah.
Because you knew she was going to find out eventually.
Oh, yeah.
But what happens in this situation is still up in the air. But I thought how they ended the episode was a little off.
Okay.
Because we go tying back to Vanessa's story.
Uh-huh.
And how she's really working the criminal underworld.
Yep, she's doing all the dirty work that Fisk can't.
Yeah, so Ed Zerl, who's been playing Vanessa, doing great stuff here, is meeting up with Luca because obviously there's the $2 million debt that's owed.
Yep.
And, it's the back and forth of the crime world that we know.
Oh, yeah,
so like
Sopranos.
Yeah, so this completely works. And Luca is kind of, planting the seeds of, are you really happy with what's going on right now? Do you, with Wilson there, why is he in office? We're not making as much.
Yep.
When you're in charge, you know how much we were doing. So now, like, what's going on? Like, if he wasn't
Maybe
there.
we should go back to the old ways.
Yeah. And they do tease a scene, too, where she tips off Luca that, he's at a restaurant eating by himself.
Uh-huh.
Almost insinuating the hit is there.
Yep.
So
guy's an idiot.
Yeah. So he buys into it. He shows up at the restaurant. And you see Fisk is sitting there, his back to the door.
Only thing missing was Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah, which I'm going. I'm sitting there just going like, you're walking into a trap. And
oh my God, yeah.
Like, are you really that dumb?
Yes, he is.
But yeah, he is.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, because he gets before he's walking in because
he didn't even say a word.
No. Cashman, Fisk's new right-hand man, was sitting there waiting on him with a silencer, and boom, kills him right there.
Yep.
And Fisk does not miss a beat eating.
So now it begs the question, was he set up deliberately by Vanessa, or is Vanessa double-crossing the entire crime families?
That's a good story that they're going to have to deal with.
I dig the story.
I think Vanessa's staying loyal to Fisk.
I could be.
I mean, I don't think
she's certainly learned enough and been around enough that she knows he's not one to double cross.
Well, the one thing is, and it'll be interesting to see if this gets tied in because I think it does. The connection to whichever Vanessa or Wilson has to Bullseye.
Okay.
Because I think it's all going to tie back together.
Oh yeah. Of
who put the hit out on Foggy Nelson.
Right. Yeah.
So
she could have had it set up through Bullseye, but Bullseye's like, oh yeah, I got hired by Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, so it's Foggy. Then So I think that's going to tie into the end of the season.
So so you're saying she could be Emperor Palpatining this thing?
Yep.
And setting up both sides against each other.
Yeah. Because I mean, obviously, if she was cheating on Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's all in, but I'm just saying like she's also weighing options.
She's in as so far as it fits her needs.
Right. But overall, Pad, your thoughts, because I got my rant coming up.
Okay. No, I thought it was a good episode. I dug kind of the tension and the Law and Order CSI of it, the mystery and the intrigue. I'm interested to see where they go and kind of the fact that we're at episode 7, there's 2 more episodes to go, and I don't really know, like, okay, here's the end goal. Now, I realize this is part 1 of a 2-part story in that we're going to get, the conclusion at the end of season 2. But the fact we're this far in and I don't quite know where we're going, normally I would hate, and normally I would say, why do we not know where the end goal is? Why do we not know what the finish line is? I'm all right with.
See, I thought this was a good episode, but my big problem is how they dealt with Muse.
Okay.
So this is why I say, if Muse is truly dead, and that's how they wrote him off.
Sure.
This is a problem the MCU has still not fixed.
You're not wrong.
And do you know what the problem is?
They kill off all their villains after like 1 appearance.
Yep.
I mean, we could run through a list, but that's a long one.
Oh, exactly. I was going to say, the only villains that have made it to sequels that have been in the MCU, Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
You can argue Tom Hiddleston as Loki. You can argue even though he's not a villain anymore. You can make that argument.
Yeah.
And then I'll wait. In all honesty.
Yeah.
And you can't say Hydra. Hydra is an organization. But if you, but and I'm sorry, Thanos was a 2-part. But when he made his debut,
multi-part.
Yeah. But you take a look at when they do these one and dones, it really takes away from the villains there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I understand you're dealing with actors and contracts and X, Y, and Z, but I think it takes away from your heroes if their villains are literally one and dones and the fact they get killed off.
Obadiah Stane died in the first Iron Man. Yep. Whiplash died in Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not really a villain in Thor 1 that got killed, so you can kind of give that one a pass. What is it? Dr. Aldrich Killian destroyed by Pepper in Iron Man 3. Dark World, Malkeith got crushed to death. Arnim Zola, obviously kind of multi-parted, but kind of died. So it depends on how you look at it. Guardian of the Galaxy, Ronan, dead. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Ego, dead. Age of Ultron, dead. Well, so far as we know. So far as we know. Ant-Man was dead. Then we found out later he wasn't. Now he's seemingly dead. What is it? Yeah, Crossbones in Civil War. Well, if you've seen the opening of that movie, you know.
Yep.
Killmonger, dead. Black Widow, General Dreykov, dead. Spider-Man Homecoming, Shocker. Well, he's dead. What is it? Doctor Strange, Caecilius, well, he's dead. Thor Ragnarok, well, dead, to say the least. Of Infinity War, well, that's a whole other mess, but the Black Order's dead. We'll go for that. Endgame Thanos, dead, but multi-parted thing. Quentin Beck from Spider-Man Far From Home, Mysterio, dead. Green Goblin, kind of up in the air, hard to say. Well, who knows?
Jury's out on that
Jury's out. Eternals, Crow and Icarus, well, dead. Shang-Chi, well, dead. Thor, Love and Thunder, Gore the God Butcher. Do I need to say any more? Wasted opportunity.
Yep.
And then Wanda, technically the villain in Doctor Strange. So, she's dead, but it wasn't a one-off. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm just running through this list. So, like you see the track record.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you did a disservice to the fans. And this is a problem that is not going away, apparently.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, not saying the Muse needs to come back every season or whatever.
No.
But when you have characters like this, and you're literally wasting the time of the audience because you're trying to get the investment. Because when they got Running with Muse, this is episode 3.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying that you have to do a 9-episode story with them.
Sure.
But I think that what you have to do is not have everybody get killed because, I mean, we're in the spoiler section.
Yeah, we are.
In the comics, yeah, sure, he died eventually for a moment, but in that first story, he didn't. He was taken away by Inhuman Jail.
Let me ask you this, just to kind of same outcome, but let me flip it a little bit.
Sure.
What would your opinion have been if it would have been Frank Castle pulling the trigger?
See, it's a different... Frank Castle doesn't have rogues because he kills them all.
Right.
So I think I would be like this. Depending on who the villain is,
okay,
I would not have a problem with it because it's Frank.
Okay.
But Frank doesn't fight villains like Muse.
Shoots first, asks questions later.
I mean, you talk about his rogues. There's what? Kingpin, Bullseye, Barracuda, if you really want to take a deep dive, Jigsaw,
right,
and Waiting.
God, I'm trying to type the rogues, but I can't freaking type today. List of supporting characters. Let me see what I can find.
I mean, Micro, I guess you can make an argument for.
I mean, when I Google search list of Punisher rogues, from sources across the web, Barracuda, Russian, literally.
Yeah, from Garth Ennis' first run. Right. Welcome back, Frank.
Not the nationality person.
Right.
Jigsaw.
Yep.
Bullseye.
Yep.
Bushwhacker.
Yeah, forgot about him.
Kingpin.
Yep.
Ma Ganucci.
Welcome back, Frank.
Draken.
Okay.
Daken. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Daken. Yeah, Wolverine's son there.
Nikki Cavella.
Was that Welcome Back, Frank?
This one was Finn Cooley. I can look it up.
It's been a while anyway.
William Rawlins.
Okay.
Absorbing Man.
Interesting.
And then this is from sources across the web. And then you got Finn Cooley. Yeah. Then you got Hood and Marvel Cannibals.
Well, that's the whole thing. When they've dabbled in Frank's history of going against the supernatural, that's a whole different ball of wax. I mean, I'm just saying if you take the Frank Castle, like I say, the top 3 you have.
Well, I'll say this: Finn Cooley appeared in the TV show.
Yeah, he was
forgot about that.
I was gonna say he was in there for a quick second.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that's what Frank does. But he doesn't fight super powered villains.
Right.
If you're fighting powers versus powers, like the MCU majority of time does,
right?
The fact that you killed off Muse, that's a disservice, and especially because now where do you go for 2 episodes to finish the season off?
Right.
Because now you're going to have to try forcing in a 2-part finale. That's what it's going to be. And you have to end it with something big. Like, I'm guessing that Kingpin outs Matt Murdock.
Right.
That he is Daredevil. And then Maybe that sets up why he's in jail, or maybe that's how Vanessa gets him. Like, you're going to spiral into the secret life of Augie Nelson.
For what it's worth, Finn Cooley, created by Garth Ennis and Leandro Fernandez.
Yeah, see, the one thing with Garth, though, is that's during the Max line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Max is, it's the equivalent of DC Black Label.
I kind of got that vibe.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the character's image on the fandom page. Yeah, that looks like it's not safe for kids.
Right. No, that's the mature readers one. And that's why I say Barracuda's there, which I, trust me, I doubt, I would say that would be the ultimate leap if he winds up showing up anywhere. I'm just putting that out there. But we have to wait to see how this all plays. But I'm just saying, for what we had here, I really thought they did a disservice, because you kill off a villain that we're supposed to care about, in the sense of, okay, what's the real threat? Because if it's a one and done, it's what are we doing? And that's the argument we have, because you have to have that argument.
Yeah.
As foolish as it sounds, because now, okay, well, whoever we see for these next 2 episodes, with the exception of Fisk, where do we go from here?
Right.
And now you have a whole second season where you're basically gonna have him and Fisk again, which it works. It's not to say it doesn't.
Sure.
But if you want to get away from having the same old rogues doing the same old thing, killing them off and making them all one and dones is not working.
No.
And I think that's a problem the MCU still has not fixed, and I think it really took away from this episode. That was the biggest takeaway I took from it.
Yeah.
Is going, okay, so now you killed them off, you took away his superpowers, you took away anything interesting from him. You tried flipping it for the pop culture audience, which, let's face it, it doesn't work when you do that and you stray away from the comics. Now, granted, do they have to make him an Inhuman? No, absolutely not. You can make him a mutant and be fine.
Yeah.
Or do something else and allude to it? Sure.
I mean, the theory has been thrown out for however many years since Infinity War first happened, that amount of gamma radiation, or whatever radiation it was, from the Infinity Stones being used caused something across the world. You can even go with that.
Yeah, I mean, they could argue that. I mean, they could use that instead of the Terrigen Mist if they wanted to do it. I mean, there's a lot of area you can cover. But at the end of the day, I feel they missed the mark. And I feel that unless Muse comes back, and not saying we have to see him come back this season, it could be like he escapes the morgue and is gone.
Right.
Okay, well, this proves that we could see it back again sometime, and actually adds a little more depth to the character if there's a really cool story they want to do. Because like I say, at the end of the first time, he goes to a Inhuman jail and he breaks his own hands because he's that messed up.
Right.
And then, when he comes back again, the next time around, it's a little more different. And then recently now in the comics, it's different. But at least that's the point. It's not a one and done.
Yeah.
That's that. The minute I saw that, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We haven't learned our lesson yet.
Yeah.
So I know I'm being a little extra critical of it, because
it's understandable.
But it's a solid episode. But then again, it's like, if this is what we need to expect as we're going into this new era of the MCU,
right?
How are we supposed to get that, amped up for it when we're hearing villains get announced that they're just going to be one and dones?
Yeah.
That's the argument I pose with this ODPH Society. So overall, though, solid episode. Definitely a cool twist they did to Muse, but I'm sorry if this is the one and done. I think they missed the mark. We gave you our thoughts. Now we want to hear yours. Hit us up. Let us know your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, episode 7 of season 1, entitled Art for Art's Sake. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? Let's talk about it, shall we? But we're going to get our break in. We'll be right back.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, check out nerdinitiative.com.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment of this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a lot to talk about, the first of which is some unfortunate news, because we did have 3 stellar actors pass in the past week, so we do have to give them their flowers. The first of which was the actor Bruce Glover, who passed away at the age of 92. May not know the name, but when I mention the role he's most well known for, some of you may go, oh, that guy. He, in the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever, he played Mr. Kidd, alongside Putter Smith, who played Mr. Kidd, alongside, he played Mr. Wint. Gotta get that straight. Alongside Putter Smith's Mr. Kidd. This was announced by his son, Crispin Glover, who, of course, played George McFly in Back to the Future. On Instagram this past week, he shared that he died on March 12th. No other details were made immediately available. He Bruce Glover did also go on to play Deputy Grady Coker alongside Joe Don Baker as Sheriff Buford Pusser in the box office hit Walking Tall from 1973. And then he returned to that role in 75 and 77 for sequels with Bo Sveensson as the lead. So definitely a great actor. I loved him in the James Bond Diamonds Are Forever. Fantastic character. If you're not familiar with that role and you're of a certain age, if you've seen the animated series Kids Next Door from Cartoon Network, two of those characters, the lifeguards, are based on Mr. Kid, Mr. Wint. So that's where the inspiration comes from.
Yeah, our deepest condolences out to his family, friends, and fans all over the world. Yeah, I mean, I remember the minute you said the role, I'm like, oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Then another one that came out after was the actor Clive Revill, passed away at the age of 94. Was the original voice of the Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back. Was also the voice of Alfred Pennyworth in the first 3 episodes of Batman, the animated series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he passed away at the age of 94. So like I said, he was, if you go back and you can find clips of it online, but in the original release of Empire Strikes Back, the creepy looking face, the weird voice, that was Clive Revill. He also went on to do a whole bunch of other roles, well-known roles. But more recent generations might recognize the voice of having done the first 3 or 4 episodes of Alfred Pennyworth in Batman the Animated Series.
Wow. I mean,
yeah.
Again, our condolences out to his family, friends, and fans all over the world.
Then the one that hit this morning that, well, I knew it was coming at some point, but it didn't make it any easier, and that was the fantastic actor, Iceman, Bruce Wayne, whatever you wanted to call him, Val Kilmer, passed away Tuesday night at the age of 65, as announced by his daughter, according to the Associated Press, which she told him. According to his daughter, he died from a pneumonia in Los Angeles, surrounded by family and friends. The daughter said in an email to the news agency, Kilmer has said, quote, I've lived a magical life, and moviegoers would recognize him from a range of some of the roles of some of the most popular movies of his generation and beyond. Of course, everyone knows he was Iceman in the original Top Gun movie, and he fantastically returned to that role in Top Gun Maverick in 2022. It was just a fantastic thing. Josh Brolin posted a photo of the two and said, quote, "See ya, pal. I'm going to miss you. You were a smart, challenging, brave, uber creative firecracker. There's not a whole lot left of those. I hope to see you up there in the heavens when I eventually get there. Until then, amazing memories, lovely thoughts." He also got some flowers from Francis Ford Coppola. A whole bunch of others, paid tribute to Francis Ford Coppola. He was a wonderful person to work with and a joy to know. I will always remember him. You had a whole bunch of, Cher, the actor, will miss you. You were funny, crazy, pain in the ass, great friend, brilliant as Mark Twain, brave here during your sickness. From X, Jennifer Tilly, Josh Gad, Joe Manganiello, just a whole host of folks he touched across the spectrum of things, and definitely sucks that we lost one of Bruce Wayne Batman.
Yeah, I mean, to think about the roles that he's done, I mean, Jim Morrison in the biopic for The Doors.
Yeah.
I always think of him when I think Doc Holliday from Tombstone. I think it's one of the best Westerns I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I mean, obviously when he came in, and we have to remember that time period too. He came in after Michael Keaton.
Oh, yeah.
And with Joel Schumacher.
Yep.
And, really flipping the Bat mythos on the big screen.
Yeah.
And even though it was one and done, still at that time, I mean, that was a changing of the guard for Batman, and especially like his run. Like I say, his version was great. Like I say, for what it was. Like I say, it played off the Batman 66.5, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't struggle with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, just an amazing actor, and I mean, he'd been battling throat cancer for many years, and
had effectively retired from films until he came back and reprised his role in Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. Which I have to look it up. I think might have been the last thing he did.
This is the last thing I remember him. So, I mean, but still, I mean, an amazing actor. Like I say, when you think about the late 80s, early 90s, like he was just one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, and the work speaks for itself. Like I say, when you think Iceman and Top Gun, playing off against Tom Cruise, and then you think about the other roles that he's done, Willow.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like I say, a true Renaissance man in his own right, and like I say, one that we heard the news this morning on Nerd Initiative. We're all just like stunned. 65 years old, way too soon.
Yeah. So Top Gun Maverick was indeed the last role he was in. Presumably, unless we get like a Kevin Conroy situation, and he worked on like 7 things before he passed that we find out about later.
Yeah.
But it really says something about the actor when you can play a role, even for one movie, such as Batman, and you go to their IMDb page, and of course, there's the first 4 things they're known for, and Batman's not on the list.
Yeah.
Says something about the actor.
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, it's just, still it's still shocking.
Devastating, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, again, our condolences out to his family, friends, and fans all over the world.
Yeah.
Hit us up on the hashtag, too. Let us know your favorite Val Kilmer film.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to hear everybody's takes.
Then we got some news from CinemaCon. That took place over the weekend. It is not open to the public, so you got to be somebody in the industry or on the inside, a journalist of some sort to get in there. A couple interesting things from this. From the Lionsgate panel, we did learn that Paul Feig, the producer, has signed a first-look deal for new films at Lionsgate. So effectively what that means is when he goes to make a movie, Lionsgate gets first crack.
Okay.
And if they decide to pass on it, they can pass on it, but anything he does first, they get first look. We also found out that apparently this franchise is more successful than I thought it was. They're planning a Now You See Me 4, and the third one hasn't even come out yet. I do love the new name they gave the third one though. It's not called Now You See Me 3. It's Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
No, that's cool.
I thought that was a clever.
I like that.
Clever play on words. We did find out about a couple other films and their release dates and such coming up for the folks over at Lionsgate. We did learn that they're making a John Wick Chapter 5. Sign me the fuck up.
I was going to say, I shouldn't be surprised at this point.
No, I'm not either. Despite what Keanu Reeves had said that he doesn't have it in him to make another film. No, sir, you have it in you. You're just like Daniel Craig when asked at the end of a 9-month filming session if you want to do another one. Of course you're going to say no.
Well, I think for him, he understands his roles and he understands what he really loves doing. And in that situation, yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
We did also find out there's going to be an animated John Wick movie.
That's happening a lot more these days. You're seeing the action films get translated over to animation. So sign me up for it. I mean, John Wick, sorry to Ron from 3FN. I know that is not one of his favorite franchises.
Sure.
But
I love it.
It serves the purpose of being what it is.
Yeah.
I go in with no seriousness. I go in expecting a lot of big action.
Yeah.
And a lot of crap getting blown up. And I'm usually met.
Yeah. We do know Shannon Tyndall is who is the co-writer and director of Ultraman Rising, is attached to direct, and that Vanessa Taylor of The Shape of Water is going to write the screenplay. So presumably going to be a lot of anime influence with this. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Like I mentioned, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. We got an release date for that. That is a changed title for the third film. We also did find out the release date for the upcoming Hunger Games film. Of course, the book just came out about 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it is. But Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping, releasing November 20th, 2026, directed by Francis Lawrence. Cast TBA, although you got to figure Woody Harrelson's going to figure into it in some fashion. If you know the book, you know why I say that. It's going to be interesting to see, though, just because Donald Sutherland passed away, and he obviously features very prominently into that franchise. So we'll see how that goes. Then we got to talk about some of the ones over from the folks at Sony, because they had a couple things. The first of which is there's a new Resident Evil movie coming from Zach Kreger. Not really too much known about what's going on with that, although I have heard it's going to be different than anything we've ever seen.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. Jumanji 3 is coming, which, again, it's the Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart one, so not a surprise there.
Is Taika directing that?
Have not heard anything yet, but it wouldn't surprise me. Or no, Jumanji 3 is going to be directed by...
No, I'm thinking the other one they announced. I'm sorry.
Jake Kasdan is directing Jumanji 3.
No, because Taika Waititi's doing something there, isn't he?
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting a new Starship, a reboot of Starship Troopers. You might know the name who was directing this one, Neil Blomkamp, the guy who did District 9.
Interesting.
I'm all on board with this. We got a release date for the and director for the upcoming Legend of Zelda live action film. Yes, folks, this isn't a April Fool's joke from IGN from 15 years ago. We are, in fact, getting a Legend of Zelda live action film. Nintendo last week announced the release date. It's going to be March 26th, 2027. But hey, it's coming. I'm on board with it. We also found out that there's going to be a quote-unquote 4-film cinematic event directed by Sam Mendes. It's going to be on some dude named Paul McCartney, some dude named John Lennon, some dude named Ringo
Oh,
Starr.
Beatles.
Some dude named George Harrison. Yeah, so there's going to be 4 films, one on each of the famous Beatles. The Paul McCartney will be played by Paul Mescal. John Lennon will be played by Harris Dickinson. Ringo Starr will be played by Barry Keoghan. And George Harrison will be played by Joseph Quinn. All 4 films, simply titled Paul, John, Ringo, and George, will be released in April of 2028. We got a release date for the upcoming Karate Kid Legends film, which is coming out May 30th, 2025. Of course, it's got Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, Ben Wang, Joshua Jackson, among a host of other folks. Ming-Na Wen's in this film, which, of course. There was some footage shown at this. Obviously, it's in insiders only, so it was not made available to the public. We did get a release date and a little bit of an update on the 28 Years Later franchise, which... Sony, please put this available for streaming online because I haven't seen the first film since I was in college over 10 years ago. And it hasn't been streaming anywhere ever. So I'd like to rewatch these films at some point. 28 Years Later, directed by Danny Boyle. It is written by Alex Garland. Jodie Comer is going to be in the cast. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ray Fiennes, Jack O'Connell, among a host of others. So that's super excited for that one to come out. Then there's one coming out after that, in January 16th, 2026, found this one out. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. This is going to be directed by Nia DaCosta, also written by Alex Garland. This one, again, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jack O'Connell, and Ray Fiennes are going to be in this one as well. Then we got a little bit of an update on a film I know you're excited for. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse.
About damn time.
Coming June 4th, 2027. A little bit of footage was shown at this, and then it's a new animation style. And from the photos I've seen, it looks new.
I mean, it looks new, but they have not missed, so I don't mind. As long as they get it right, I'm okay with this. Granted, do I want to see it today? Yes, but I'm cool waiting as long as it pays off.
How do you feel about 90s Freddie Prinze Jr. films? Because we're getting another I Know What You Did Last Summer film coming July 18th, 2025.
First reaction is why, but then again... I actually, for horror movies, I actually really do like that one. So okay. I'm not too mad about that, but still, why?
Then we found out the official title for the first ever Spider-Man 4 film.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Brand New Day, directed by Daniel Destin Cretton and starring Tom Holland.
Okay, so initial reactions to this.
Okay.
Do I think they're doing the comic story?
Borrowing from it.
Borrowing, maybe. I mean, do I think we're going to have Omit? Please, God, no. I don't want to see any part of that Hot Mess Express on here. I think they've already teased enough with how they ended Far From Home. So I think this will be very interesting to see pulled off. I know there's been a lot of wild alleged casted rumors passed around. So until I see concrete, I don't want to speculate. Do I think it would be cool to see Felicia Hardy in the mix here? Yes. Please. I don't want to see anything with Gwen Stacy, period.
Right.
If they did Miles Morales here too, I think that would be very cool as well.
I'm betting that's going to be the bonus scene at the end of the movie.
I would not doubt, though, even though he is in the story in the comics, if they brought him over for this movie, I wouldn't be mad as Mr. Negative.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Negative's gotten a lot of attention recently, too.
I think that'd be a smart villain to do.
Thank you, video game.
Yep.
Then the last one we got is the fine folks over at Warner Brothers. They did talk a little bit about the James Gunn Superman movie. Although, listen, at this point, it's coming out here in a couple months, so there really wasn't a whole lot about that. We did get some footage and a release date for the upcoming F1 film.
A lot of people talking about that.
Listen, as a casual adrenaline junkie, I'm very intrigued by this because it's produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, and Bruckheimer never half-asses anything when it comes to action films. He whole asses it. This is also going to be starring Brad Pitt. So, and I know they filmed part of this at some actual F1 events, so they went for like realistic stuff. Coming out February 27th of next year. I mean, I'm interested to see this just from a how are you going to pull this off standpoint.
Yeah, I am too. Like, this usually would not be up my alley, but I think I'm going to be there day one.
More than likely, me too. Next up is one that, listen, you can tell who watched the original set of films because when you are behind a tractor trailer pulling trees logs,
hell no.
Do you drive behind it?
No.
If you're driving behind it, we know you're of a certain age. You're either older or you're a Gen Z or a Gen Alpha or whatever it is. I don't think Gen Alpha's driving yet. But you're going to learn because we got another Final Destination movie coming. Final Destination Bloodlines. May 16th, 2025. Directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein. Main cast is going to be Caitlin Santa-Ioana, Teo Briones, Richard Harmon, Owen Patrick Joyner, Raya Kiltz, Anna Lore, Brack Bassinger, and Tony Todd. So, hey, get ready for some more fears you didn't know you had.
Yeah, screw that. I'm not going behind any tractor trailers with logs on it. No, if you know, you know.
If you don't, go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. Enough said.
Next up was an animated film that I'm surprised they haven't done it yet, but hey, not totally surprised. The Cat in the Hat, coming February 26th.
Wait, hold up. They haven't done one?
They did the live action one.
Okay.
That was the Michael Myers one.
That's what I was thinking.
That was the one that they did before Dr. Seuss's widow died.
Okay.
And was so... Now, there's a reason that was the last live action Dr. Seuss. It was
not good.
It was so bad and it was so poorly received that she said, we're never gonna let you do another live action Dr. Seuss film again. Which is why all of them afterwards have been 3D animated.
And you know what? That's perfectly fine because there's certain things you can't do live action. Dr. Seuss is one. I'm sorry. Like even I know people love the Grinch. No, I'm sorry.
The live action Grinch is good.
Yeah, but still, for me, I don't think I ever needed it.
Sure.
Like there's certain things like, oh, this would be cool live action. No, that anything Dr. Seuss, no, just keep it animated.
You will enjoy who's playing the self-titled Cat in the Hat in this movie though.
Who's that?
Bill Hader.
Oh, okay.
Bill Hader's playing the title
role.
Then you've got one that it's based on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is titled The Bride, directed and written by Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this is coming March 6th, 2026. Cast is Jesse Buckley, Christian Bale, Penelope Cruz, Peter Skarsgård, Julianne Hough, John Magaro, and Annette Bening, and Jake Gyllenhaal because, well, obviously.
Reasons.
Yeah, reasons. You know what? I've read Frankenstein. I'm interested to see what they do with this, if for nothing else than pure intrigue.
Yeah, I would say so too. I'll have to see the trailer before I make a judgment.
Yeah.
I mean, Frankenstein, the minute you said that, I immediately went Creature Commandos. I'm not going to lie. I immediately went there. So
that's understandable.
Yeah, that's how I read.
Next up is we got some Nintendo Switch 2 news.
Yeah, a lot of news about
this. Because this finally got unveiled today. We got a release date, and that release date is coming June 5th. A couple of the editions of this. According to the Nintendo website, if you get the version that is 400, so if the strict console itself, which is going to be the console, 2 Joy-Con controllers, 2 Joy-Con grips, 2 straps, the Joy-Con 2 controllers, a Joy-Con 2 grip. Sorry, the 2 is throwing me off there. And the Joy-Con straps, it's going to come with a dock, an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, an AC adapter, and a USB-C charging cable. That one is going to cost you $449.99. Well, thank you, Current Events. There is a higher priced version, and that is the one coming with Mario Kart World Bundle. That one's going to be $499.99.
You got to bring back the Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. A couple interesting things revealed about it. There's going to pre-order. It's going to be launching April 6th. That's going to be a whole thing. Good fucking luck, I'm going to tell you right now. What's easier to get? Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con tickets or the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order? I'm going to tell you right now, San Diego Comic-Con tickets. San Diego Comic-Con tickets. The Nintendo also revealed C button functionality, which is basically means, hey, you're going to it's going to have native voice chat and a separate camera peripheral. Got a whole bunch of new games coming for this. Good Lord. So the first one, one of the first ones they revealed is Mario, which rumored, everyone figured, but hey, it's been 10 years since the last one, which the last one I'm referring to is Mario Kart 8, which you might say, that's not 10 years old. It released for the Switch in 2017. Yes, you're right, but that was the re-release of the Wii U version, which came out in May of 2014. So the last actual Mario Kart game hasn't been out in 10, 11 years now. But yeah, Mario Kart World is arriving on the Switch 2 at launch. Whole bunch of stuff coming with that. 24 racers. Good God almighty. It's going to end friendships. Then you got Donkey Kong Bonanza coming in July. It's the next platformer from the Donkey Kong franchise. It's been a while since we've seen the Donkey Kong franchise. Another Kirby game coming, Kirby Air Riders. It's going to be the revival of the GameCube racer, of course, sequel to the 2003 Kirby Air Ride. A Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment got announced. Was a prequel within the Tears of the Kingdom universe. May only have Zelda as the main protagonist. You never know. We'll see. Drag X Drive, a mouse-controlled competitive basketball game. You're basically a wheelchair-bound player. 2 teams of 3 compete in motion-controlled basketball bouts. So, hey, could be something a little interesting. Who knows? Might get a competitive league out of that like you did Rocket League. You never know.
Yeah.
Then we found out some third-party games, which there were rumors they upped the software and the hardware for the Switch to make it be able to play third-party games, and shit did they ever. From Software revealed The Dusk Bloods as a Switch 2 exclusive. So if you don't know who From Software is, Dark Souls, Elden Ring,
Okay.
all those super hard, like you're going to throw shit against the wall because you're failing 900 times before you complete it. Yeah, you're getting one of those. A whole bunch of others announced with it. Hollow Knight, Silk Song, ports of Elden Ring, Hades 2, Cyberpunk 2077, which, listen, Cyberpunk 2077 ran like shit on my PS4. It's going to come out on the Switch 2 and be able to run. We'll see how it
Yeah, I was going to say
runs.
it's going to be flawlessly.
Yeah, so we'll see. We also found out that they're getting a Nintendo GameCube controller for the Switch.
I'm in for that.
Oh my God, that I might buy one just for that. We also found out that there are going to be Nintendo Switch 1 games getting enhanced for Switch 2, basically upgrading graphics and whatnot. That includes Metroid Prime 4, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and several others are going to be on that. A whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff from the folks over at Nintendo.
Yeah, I want to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
Before I go put my pre-order down. I think I might wait on that.
That's fair. Then we got a surprise trailer, and nobody knew anything about this. I sure as hell didn't. Remember Tales of the Jedi?
Yes.
Remember Tales of the Sith, or I think it was Tales of the Empire.
Yep.
Got the next iteration, that is Tales of the Underworld.
I'm in.
Releasing on an appropriate day, May the 4th. It's 6 all-new original shorts on Disney+, starring, looks like the two main protagonists of this one are going to be Asajj Ventress, and I'm sorry to you, but I'm going to say it, the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy,
Boba Fett.
Cad Bane.
Second greatest.
Nah, Cad's the greatest. He broke into the Jedi Temple, made it out, and lived. Tell me if Boba did that.
Boba got Han. Nope. Enough said.
Although I will give Boba his flowers. He did bring down an entire Star Cruiser to kill Mace Windu.
Thank you.
I will give him his flowers. But yeah, so 6 new shorts coming to Disney Plus about those two characters. Looks like this is going to be set after the events of Clone Wars, so it could be in somewhere in the realm of the original trilogy films. Not really known, other than the only character I did see in there that I recognized was it looked like Bosk was there. If you're not familiar, he's the lizard-looking dude from Empire Strikes Back when Vader brings all the bounty hunters together. So it's not set during Clone Wars. It looks like it's set after Clone Wars because, well, Asajj says she used to work for Dooku, and she's got the yellow lightsaber, not red ones. So that's the only hint I got where it's taking place. But we'll see. I'm on board with this.
Looked really good.
Yeah, it did. Super excited for this.
Yeah, definitely making some moves with this one. So
Yeah.
we'll be discussing that, rest assured, in May.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I told you a job a couple months ago about a movie I was excited for because, holy hell, I didn't think it actually happened. That was the folks over at Legendary working on a Gundam movie. We got some possible casting news because, hey, it ain't officially yet, but it's being announced or reported by the folks at Deadline, and that is well-known actress Sydney Sweeney is apparently in final negotiations to star in the live-action Gundam movie, according to the folks over at Deadline. They go on to say details, quote, details as to the part Sweeney is playing are under wraps for now, as is the film's plot. Reps for Legendary declined to comment, close quote. So, listen, I'm all for it. Why not?
Well, you know what? Sweeney is a big name in Hollywood right now. Makes sense, especially for Gundam, which, I mean, has a very loyal fan base. But we always talk about you go into pop culture. I know she's been allegedly rumored to Spider-Man 4, too.
Yep,
so we'll wait and see about that. But big move for the Gundam movie, I have to say.
Then, after you're done listening to this podcast, I got a recommendation for you fine folks at home. First 2 episodes just dropped today, and this is called DC High Volume.
Yeah.
Batman.
I've heard. I have not dived into this.
So, the reading from the DC.com website, it goes on to say, the always-on weekly podcast series adapting essential Batman comic stories launches April 2nd with new episodes every Wednesday. DC High Volume Batman begins with the 4-part adaptation of Batman Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. After traveling the world for over a decade following the death of his parents, Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham and to find crime and corruption running rampant in the place he calls home. Realizing Gotham City needs a hero, Bruce dons the cape and cowl for the first time, becoming the Batman. If Batman and new allies Lieutenant Gordon and District Attorney Harvey Dent succeed in removing the criminal heads of Gotham City, who will replace them? A new face of villainy may appear, leading to a long Halloween full of costume criminals. The cast of DC High Volume features Batman features Jason Spizak, Young Justice, Arcane as Batman/Bruce Wayne, Jay Paulson, Mad Men Catch-22 as Lieutenant James Gordon, Reba Burr from Next Gen as Catwoman/Selena Kyle, Adam O'Byrne, AMC's Interview with the Vampire as Harvey Dent and Two-Face. Mike Starr, Goodfellas, and Ed Wood as Carmine Falcone. Simon Vance from Bring Up the Bodies, Rod, the autobiography of Rod Stewart as Alfred Pennyworth. Dan Gill, Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension as the Joker. Jesse Birch, Fallout New Vegas as the Riddler. Michelle Lukes, Alexander and Strike Back as Poison Ivy. And Kevin Smith as the Penguin.
Okay.
First 2 episodes are out now. I am super excited to listen to this because this ain't just going to be people reading a script and talking back and forth through it. No, folks. High production volume on this. Music, sound effects, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be like you're actually there.
Yeah, I mean, I am very, very curious about this now after you breaking it down. Because, I mean, obviously they're coming out hot out of the gate with year 1. But considering the voice actors involved, I mean, like I say, I've heard about this. I have not taken the deep dive yet, but I think I'm going to have to because obviously you need a soundtrack for New Comic Book Day.
You do.
So, Pat, what are you picking up?
I'm going to be recommending what I reviewed for you fine folks over at Nerd Initiative this week, and that is Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, The Bad Batch, Ghost Agents, #2, from Michael Morsi as the writer, and then you've got Reese Hannigan as the artist. You've got, so the description of this is, the Bad Batch race bounty hunter Embo to recover stolen intelligence that could compromise Republic spies everywhere. Their mission brings them face-to-face with the nefarious Pike Syndicate, a notorious gang of spice smugglers that poses a serious threat to the clones. Will the Bad Batch escape their lives before Embo flees with the intel? The Republic War effort depends on it. A new Bad Batch adventure set during the Clone Wars. It's only a 5-issue miniseries. This is issue #2, so effectively we're halfway through this. If you have not read this series and you've seen Clone Wars or you've seen the Bad Batch or both, you are going to love this series. This feels like an episode out of their little brief introduction during the Clone Wars, out of one of their seasons on their own show on Disney+. It's a fantastic read. Tip their hand a little bit who the big bad is in this because, well, it's kind of obvious, but I'm excited to see where they go with it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I know you've been talking about, and, I know online, too, that everybody's been talking. Plus, it's the Bad Batch. You can't go wrong with that.
Not at all.
All right, so my list starts off like this. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Beachhead, #1. So this is a very, very different book from Image and Skybound. So this is the Larry Hama universe, not to be confused with the Energon universe.
Right.
And if you're not familiar with the Larry Hama run, I mean, Larry Hama is the voice of G.I. Joe, legendary writer of the series from Marvel to even the place they went to before Image. My God, I'm blanking on it right now. He's written like everything down with G.I. Joe. But in 1983, he did a book. It's issue #21, and it is called The Silent Interlude. It's Snake Eyes centric. It has no dialogue.
Oh.
This is also the first appearance of Storm Shadow in the comics, too. So it is weird to say 42 years later, Skybound and Image are bringing this back. And they're doing this under the Silent Missions banner. So for the next couple weeks, you're going to have certain Joes have silent issues.
Right.
So they're kicking off with Beachhead, Phil Hester, Travis Heimel, and Lee Lorage is the team behind this. It's a very cool issue. I think it's very creative to try doing this, and especially it really pushes the creators to sell this without any words.
Yeah.
So it's a very dope issue. Like I say, I believe they're all going to be one and dones. I don't expect anything coming out of this. This one is definitely a one and done, and a very, very dope issue on top of that. And definitely, Skybound's also releasing the reprint this week too. So you definitely want to go check that out if you see about the original one. Because like I say, for its time, it was unheard of. The fact they went in about this, crazy. Arguably the one that's making a lot of noise this week, and you can say for the right reasons, you can say for the wrong reasons. All new Venom #5. Al Ewing, Carlos Gomez. So there's a new host for Venom. And they've been doing kind of like a checklist of who it could be, possible suspects. So earlier in the week, Monday to be specific, Marvel announced it to everybody. Did a press release early. And Pad, do you know who is the new Venom?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of all over the place. Hard to miss.
Mary Jane Watson.
Not sure how I feel about this. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just like, this is interesting.
Well, my first reaction was, I'm glad it's not Paul.
I think they should have gone with that.
I think Paul is going to wind up getting it at some point.
Oh, boy.
but for the issue itself, it's a lot of great action. Mm-hmm. And then Robbie Robertson's the one that finds out.
Yeah.
And then the last page reveals everything. But knowing the history of Venom and Mary Jane, I am extremely curious about how this all came to be. So I'm assuming that's going to be the next arc.
Right.
So we will have to wait and see about this one. But I definitely want... I've already been hearing from comic creators chiming in about this. Fans chiming in. So definitely pick this issue up. I want to have a discussion with you about this.
I mean, listen, if you were to ask me, write a list of 5 people you would expect, and it can't be Eddie Brock, who you would expect to get the Venom symbiote as the next host. Not sure Mary Jane would crack my top 5.
No, Mary Jane wouldn't have been in mine. Like it is a shock value reveal in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Right.
But I'm just saying when I heard it, I'm like, I don't get it. But like much when I get that reaction, I'm going to see how this plays out, and we'll be very honest about the story. If it's one that we don't like, well, we're going to talk about it here. If it's one that I really like, you're going to hear me talk about it a lot on socials, but that's what we do. Another book that's out this week, Mad Cave Studios. This is Pop Kill #2. Jimmy Palmiotti, Dave Johnson, Juan Santa Cruz. So this is the rival soda companies. The Siamese twin brothers are trying to one-up each other. There's spies involved. It's wild. If you want a different kind of story, this is right up your alley. This is one that if you really want to see James Bond flipped upside down and involved in the world of competitive soda, this is it. And like I say, it's exactly as advertised. It's dope. I like it. It's fun. Like, I think it's a very fun series to me. Another book that's out this week, went DC heavy, Secret Six #2.
Ooh.
So this is Nicole Maines, Stefan Savogoya. This is the lineup that I don't know how they're going to work together to do this. Amanda Waller has escaped Belle Rive prison from the events of Absolute Power.
Oh, boy.
So this is a mix of a classic lineup with a new roster. Deadshot steals the show here, and how the issue ends, I mean, listen, they're in a race against time to find Amanda Waller, like much of the DCU is after what she did. So how this all plays out, anybody's guess. Another book that is kind of spiraling out of Absolute Power, which I have to say, if you want to know a true testament of a crossover event, how many books spiral out of it? Justice League, The Atom Project #4, Ryan Parrott, John Ridley, Mike Perkins.
Okay.
So this is the story of Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi, who have been trying their damnedest to fix the problem that Amanda Waller did with Absolute Power, which is a lot of people lost or had their powers switched, and they're now doing this science experiment to bring it back using this big machine. Captain Atom has been, in my opinion, the guinea pig about this. And he's now, without spoiling anything, the relationship between him and the Atoms, no pun intended, has definitely become combustible. And it's definitely changed. And I will say this, we're now at issue #4. This is clearly the strongest issue of the book thus far. We do get some answers done, and if you really look at it, the picture is starting to come into focus. So this is also tying into, there's a lot happening with other books in the All-In movement. So I don't want to say this is officially required reading now, but I think this is something that will enhance if you read other DC All-In titles. So without spoiling anything, even though the book is out, I don't want to go full spoiler. Hit me up over the weekend, and I can definitely deep dive into this a little more on socials for you. Also, speaking of the Absolute Universe, because we are talking DC, Absolute Superman #6. So this is the story of Kal-El. We've dealt with the Krypton part.
Yep.
We're now dipping into Smallville.
Oh, boy.
So this is Jason Aaron and Carmine D. Giandomenico, who's stepping in for our duties for Rafa Sandoval for this one. So this one, this is not the same old Krypton story or Smallville story, shall we say.
Wouldn't expect it to be.
No, we're going a lot of different places with this. I've really been a fan of this series. It's definitely been borrowing a lot of what you love about Superman, but really flipping a 180, and not to go completely 360 like Absolute Batman, which I adore. I think it's brutally amazing. This is definitely borrowing a lot and making a whole different run with it. So definitely check that out. Last one on my list, JSA #6. And this is the payoff of the Ragnarok storyline that they've been doing. We'll say if you've been reading it since issue 1, you're going to get hit with a big, shocking ending. And how this kind of ties into what Jeff Lemire has been writing. Because I think, like, my opinion about this is he's been really challenging the mythos of the ideals of the superheroes. Because you have the vintage team, which, I mean, the Justice Society is the first team of DC Comics. Are their methods outdated? And we see now with the mix of younger talent with this roster, how this is all coming into its own form. Does it work? Does it not? Well, we see the results in one aspect happen here. So without spoiling, it is a big issue if you're a JSA fan. So you definitely want to be talking about that at the comic shops and go picking that up, along with a lot of great other books. If you want more recommendations, Nerd Initiative has you. I forget the exact amount this week. It was a busy week, though. So we have a lot of stuff that came out, so you definitely want to find the best picks of the week. Go to nerdinitiative.com or YouTube, and you can find out for yourself what you need to go pick up at the comic shops this week. That being said, that is all we have for entertainment this week. So for anything and everything, it is the ODPH. You can find it at odphpodcast.com. For Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.